Okay, I'm live. Right, who's there? I know. I know. I've got to share it, haven't I? Oh, I can hear myself. Oh, no. It's just because I'm watching my own recording right now. Because it's easier to share that way. Right. Facebook. I can hear myself twice. There we are. Okay, I can switch that off now. Hello, Chris Buddinger. How are you? Hello, Chris Buddinger. How are you? And hello, Stephen. And Stephen. Welcome. How are you? Stephen Freestone and Steve071. Legend Real. Hello. Tina, how are you, Tina? Hope you're all doing well. So I've got 21 already. Sue Hayward Tonkin, how are you? Thanks for joining me, Sue. It's a difficult time for you, I know, and I appreciate you taking time at this particular time of your life for this sort of thing. Hello, Sauna Lazite and Hugo. Hey, Hugo. DJ B2, Mary444. Hello. Nice to see you again, Mary. Welcome back. And Al McCall. You didn't get in first this time, Al. How are you, Al? All right. Okay, guys. We got 20 watching. That's a good start, isn't it? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I don't know if you. I think most of you must have seen my video polling day, which I uploaded yesterday. I told you there'd be another video between. Oh, my nose is itching again. Between the last drawn live stream and when I put the notice up. Yes. How many we've got now? 20. Lisa. Hey, Lisa, how are you? I'm sorry you're having trouble, Lisa, connecting. Hello, David. How are you? David Schultz. Nice to hear from you. Great. I'm glad you can hear me all right. I'm using this again as my mic. It's better. It's much better quality than the webcam mic, I find. All right. So what happened? Well, you've seen it, haven't you? I was watching Sarg on a VAC ad, and he was going, "We won! We fucking won!" Yes, Boris won. Diego Rivera. Yes, election fixed. Right, you are. Chris Bird. Hello, Chris. How are you? Yeah. That was how Sargon introduced his video about this. We won. It hasn't sunk in yet, you know. It hasn't sunk in yet. I'm just I'm a bit Diego Rivera is now. Oh, Diego Rivera. When's your birthday, Diego Rivera? When is it? Well, just let me know, and I'll buy you a new record. All right. So it hasn't sunk in. It really hasn't sunk in yet. I'm glad you're here, Lisa. Lisa has arrived. She had a bit of trouble earlier on the Cry Freedom show. Lisa Phillips is here, and I'm like, it's like I feel as I did after the Brexit vote. It's like when I did stay up and watch it for a bit. I mean, I went to sleep about 2 a.m. I mean, I can't stay up all night. I mean, it's not like, I mean, I've got to work the following day. You know, I was actually with on Miss. I was on Facebook talking to Mrs. B on Inbox, and she went quiet eventually, and I realised she'd gone off to sleep. She had to work too, so I sort of I'll have a lie down for an hour, but I didn't. I eventually woke up just in time to go to work. I got up and I saw that Boris had won. Yeah, I mean, the exit poll I think was the big turning point, because the BBC. What happened was, hi Stephen, how are you, Stephen Truthseeker? Because you know that of course you had opinion polls, all the opinion polls which you're familiar with, and they were saying various things which I talked about in the last live stream, how Boris was predicted to get a majority of about between 5 and 10. He was predicted to get a small majority. Yet there was a margin of error which might have overlapped below his majority level, which would have left us with a hung parliament. As I explained in the last live stream, the pre-general election live stream, that was a risk that we were looking at. Hello, Bumbelina. How are you? And that was the risk that we were facing, that we could end up with a hung parliament, which this would have been a very different Yes, this 30 RT3R30. Hello, how are you? This would have been a very different live stream in that case. In fact, I would already drafted a letter to Boris urging him not to resign. I was thinking, because if he lost and we had a hung parliament with Corbyn as prime minister, he'd probably be put under pressure to resign, and he, as an honourable man, he probably would do so. But I was urging him. I'd already drafted a letter before the election, which I luckily will never have to send, urging him not to resign because we would need him in opposition. Because there would be a large opposition if Labour would not have got. There's no way Labour would have got a majority. They would have been probably the senior partner of a coalition with the Lib Dems, which they would have set up very easily. That was the worst case scenario, and now it's not going to happen. And when the exit poll was released, it was like everyone was stunned. I mean, I was at Maya Tusi's watch party. I was flipping between the BBC Sargon of Akkad's live stream and Maya Tusi's watch party, and Maya and his friends were like jumping up and down for joy, and there was like, because they were actually watching live as the exit polls released. It was incredible. They were predicting 368 for the Tories and 191 for Labour, which was that's a bloody landslide if it came true. The final results, I'll read the final results in a minute. They were pretty much that. And because the BBC exit poll is very accurate, it's much more accurate than the other polls. They're not allowed to publish any polls at all until 10 p.m. on polling day. So as you saw in my previous video, I went out and voted, and everything got wet in the rain. Did a little rant, and now we now have Boris as our prime minister again. This time with a majority, and. Yeah, if I'm a bit down, if I don't sound elated at this, it's because it hasn't sunk in yet. I'm like that when things happen to me. I tend to be very stoic. I tend to be very stoic when things happen like this, and I just sort of like it has. I still feel a little bit shocked. In fact, I'm going to break a rule if you don't mind. I got that with me, and I've got that. So I think I'm going to break a rule, and I'm going to have some. I don't normally drink while I'm doing live streams. It's always a bad idea, but I'm going to have a glass of wine. Lisa, you have one as well with me. Lisa likes wine, yeah. So we have. Oh, well, who's it? Oh, we've got some more people here. It's Woody Black. All right, Diego Rivera, I will answer your questions, but I will only answer them if you keep repeating the same things over and over, Diego. I'm not going to answer every single time. I'll answer once, and then that's it. Woody Black, hello. And Sonic Lady, hello, Sonic Lady. Yeah, I mean, it's great, isn't it, Sonic Lady? I'm really pleased to. I really am. I'm delighted. Oh, Tina's having some wine. Cheers, Tina. Cheers. I know, Lisa. I mean, yeah, Lisa. Lisa, we had a great Herpanmo show last night on Herpanmo Radio. The podcast is there if you want to listen to it. Great chat box. Lisa was in there as well. I know Lisa and I we have a difference of opinion on this, but I think well we have. I think we have reason we should be hopeful about what's happened. What's happened today, as explained in the live stream, is a very, very important. It's a very important development indeed. Very important. Even I know I'm understating it now. I know I'm as I say, I'm still a bit numb. I'm still a little bit in. I mean, what was the word I used? Do you remember what was the word I used? I had a word for it when I did the Brexit. When I did the Brexit coverage in 2016. Happy shock. I'm in happy shock. That's a new word I invented for that. Get a beer. DJ's getting a beer. Let's have a drink, guys. Come on, let's drink to Boris. Diego Rivera, even you. Come on, Diego. Get a glass out. Have a drink to our fearless leader, Boris Badenoff. Oh, how are you all? It's good to see. Anyway, I'll go through a few details here. I just thought as soon as I saw the exit poll, and I just like jumped for joy, and Mrs. B was like cheering as well. We were both watching it and texting each other in inbox. I just thought I knew then it couldn't. I mean, there's no way that it could be particularly different. I mean, if it had been like a marginal exit poll, I'd have probably been biting my nails all night. But it was such an extensive prediction of a victory, of a landslide victory. I knew that Boris had one. There's no way the real results could have been that different from the exit poll. And I knew whatever the actual results were, the complete results, they would have been very, very different to. They wouldn't have been very, very different to the exit poll. They couldn't have been. So I relaxed a bit. And when I relaxed, I got tired. I went to sleep. I had a bit of a hangover in the morning, actually, because I polished off that bottle of Taylor's Port I was telling you about. I polished that off. Oh, God. So about 2 a.m. I went to sleep. And well, I bought the bottle of wine today with my winnings because I've won £40 because I put a bet on Boris's majority. As it happened, I could have got better odds from, who was it? Better Fred, I think. I went to was it? I went into it's one in Oxford. I can't remember if it's Ladbrokes or William Hill, but I got 4-1 on Boris getting a majority, and so I won £40. I put a tenner on, won £40. Yes, this is the best. The best. Last time the Tories did this well, it was with Margaret Thatcher when she was at her pinnacle, the height of her power, which was the late 80s. I think it was the 1987 election. Labour have crashed out. They've totally crashed. This has been a disaster for them. This is the worst performance for the Labour Party in a general election since 1935. That's 84 years. And now, of course, we have to. It's not over, is it? Of course not, because we've got to wait for the second general election, haven't we? Boris hasn't won the second general election. The people's general election. I don't think it'll happen straight away. I know Gina Miller is probably on the way to the courthouse right now to arrange the people's general election, but they'll have to wait for a couple of. We'll have to wait actually for a couple of years because hopefully lots of old Tory voters will die. They'll die. They're going to die, so we have to have a second election. Yes, I know they might have stormed the beaches at Normandy and faced machine guns and flamethrowers. Yeah, it's all very well, but now a bunch of pacifist, intellectual, middle-class Ramonas want something, and these people are in the way. They've got to get out of the way, haven't they? Isn't that right, Gina? Whatever your name is. Gina Miller's not her real name. But seriously, we're not out of the woods yet, and I'll explain why. But anyway, let's go through the results. Yes, let's give you a bit of an analysis of the results. Final results, almost exactly to within 5 seats of what the exit poll predicted. Conservative 365. That's 47 increase on last time. That's 47 up. Labour 203. They just slipped past 200. Wouldn't it have been great if they got less than 200? Because that's never happened before. The SNP got 48. Now Scotland, I'm going to discuss Scotland separately later on in the programme. But there's a big issue to do with Scotland because the SNP did cleaned up in Scotland the same way the Tories cleaned up in England. Liberal Democrats, they've got their cricket team. They've got 11, which is down 1. Funny thing about Lib Dems is they actually lost 2 seats, but one of them was Jo Swinson's. She lost it to the SNP. That's very well. This is that's one of the things. That's one of the happiest events actually, because as I was saying in my polling day video, Jo Swinson is one of the most repulsive individuals in this entire charade of the Remainer situation. She lost her seat. Another one lost, but then 2 more Lib Dems lost their seat, but then they gained one. They gained Richmond Park. And I think the reason for that was originally tipped to go to Labour. It was originally a Tory seat. It was actually Margaret Thatcher's seat for a while. Labour had been rising then. It was tipped to go to Labour, but it went to the Lib Dems probably because of it's a large Jewish area. It includes Richmond Park includes areas such as Golders Green, Hammersmith, large Jewish communities there. And I think they bought into this idea that Jeremy Corbyn hates Jews. Now, the thing about it is, as I explained in the last live stream, Jeremy Corbyn does not hate Jews. I mean, you must admit, I am whatever your opinions on this situation, you have to confess. Someone actually told me this yesterday. that I am what C.S. Lewis called a noble enemy. I am a man of principles. I believe in fighting fair. And I've got, if I say, there's a lot of things I could have said about Corbyn, which to discredit him, as people have done there. For instance, example, that he hates Jews. He's an anti-Semite. Now, I could have said that. I could have repeated those, and I didn't, because it's not true. Labour does have a problem with anti-Semitism, and it won't deal. The reason it's not dealing with it is it's coming almost exclusively from its radical Islamist tendency. As I explained in the last live stream, that's why they won't deal with it, because they don't want to be called racists. The Democratic Unionist Party got 8, so they lost 2 seats in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is kind of a separate thing, really. They lost, I don't know what's that. I think that's Sinn Féin. Yeah, they lost a couple of seats to Sinn Féin, and there's another one, the SDLP. They lost a seat to Sinn Féin and a seat to the SDLP. And there's 15 others, includes independents. They had 2 extras. Okay. So if you look at the map, it has turned pretty much. It's like Scotland is mostly blue. So England is mostly blue. Right, in fact, beyond England, over the Scottish borders into Dumfries and Galloway and Roxburgh and that area, that's all blue as well. So the lowland Scotland is blue. And the rest of it is primarily the yellow of the SNP. There's a Liberal Democrat stronghold in the far north, in the Northern Isles and Caithness, but apart from that, it's a big yellow blotch of the Scottish Nationalist Party. Wales has gone. What's really great is the Tories have really made inroads into Wales. That country never had a Tory MP for years. It was primarily Plaid Cymru Labour, a couple of Lib Dems. You remember the by-election they had a few months ago, where they formed an informal, they got an informal coalition together to get to get it for the Lib Dems, for the Ramonas. This was just before Boris lost his majority. The Tories have now taken all over East Wales. They've also taken Anglesey and Pembrokeshire, the far west of Wales. Large areas of South Wales, the Rust Belt of South Wales, still Labour. It's still Labour. But one of the most dramatic changes has been in the north of England. The north, what's known as the Red Wall, the Labour heartlands of the north. A lot of them has gone to the Tories, including Blythe Valley, which has been considered one of the Labour's safest seats. It was won in 1950, and it's gone Tory for the first time ever. So that's it's all in all. If you voted Conservative, it was a bloody damn good result. It really was. If you're Scottish and you voted SNP, absolutely excellent. You'll be very, very pleased. If you're Welsh and you're a Tory, you'll be very pleased as well. Yeah, it's really, really great. And you know what, it says something. There's a vital message here, which is really, really great. I mean, this is better than anything I hoped for. It really is better than what I hoped. I mean, I was believing the polls, the pre-election polls, YouGov and all the others, they were predicting a small majority for Boris. That's what it was. They were predicting a small, and then the actual constituency polls came out, and it was looking really bad, because it predicted a much smaller majority with a large margin of error, which included a hung parliament. They said that there was a 45% chance of a hung parliament, and that really had me worried. And so that was the day before. So I was a bit dismal, actually, when I went to vote, thinking, where's it going to come out as? And then the actual election night came, and it couldn't have been better. It couldn't have been better. As I said, I'm a bit subdued. I'm not like Sargon, who's like sort of he's beating the victory drums right now. I'm subdued. I'm in happy shock, just like I was in 2016 when we voted leave. This is the most significant democratic exercise or event since then. What you've seen here is this is a punishment beating for the Remainers. Brexit was 75% of people, when asked, said that Brexit was the most important issue, and as I've said many, many times on this channel, we've had more than 3 years now of being told we're a bunch of white male white van driving, uneducated, racist, misogynists, homophobes, and we voted to leave the European Union because we're evil people. We had all this propaganda thrown at us, and we still voted leave. Well, for them, that's just proof that racism and misogyny and all these other nasty E's and isms and ists and obes and phobes and things like that had just run very, very deep into the toxic masculinity and whiteness of British culture. And you know what? They're doing this. They're saying it again. But that's what they said for years and years and years. And this is us saying to them, fuck you for saying that to us, for calling us that. This is us for saying we had an election, we had a referendum, we voted leave, and you stopped us from having this. We've stopped us from having our way. You've done everything you can to overturn the results of that referendum. You have disenfranchised all these people that you hate so much, these white working class people. And now the white working class has turned around and given, basically, they've kicked the asses. They've bent the Ramonas over and they've shafted them. And it is poetic justice. It could not have gone better last night. It could not have been better. It really couldn't. It was the perfect election. And I think when things like this happen, they're one of the most. It's not just this happening. It's generally in life. I'm reminded of the film Philadelphia. Have you ever seen Philadelphia? Tom Hanks is in it. He won an Oscar for his performance in that. He plays a lawyer. And at one point, someone asks him and says, "Are you a good lawyer?" And he replies, "I'm an excellent lawyer." And this person says, "Well, why? What makes you an excellent lawyer?" And he says, "I love the law, and I love the law because sometimes, not always, you get to see real justice done." And since 2016. There's been many occasions when we have seen justice done, and last night was one of those occasions where we saw justice done. Last night was it was a hymn to the spirit of 2016. Last night, it was a jubilation of everything that 2016 means. That, as Gandhi said, there's a natural arc towards justice in the world. There's oppressive regimes rise everywhere, but they always fall. Always. There is such a thing as karma. There is a universal law of fairness. I know people deny that. A lot of people deny that, but we've just seen it. We've seen justice being done last night. And when this happens, it's one of the most joyful things that I can experience. It really is. And when it sinks in, I'm going to be, when I get out of my happy shock and it sinks in, you'll know it. You'll know it. I promise you. Yes. But we're not out of the woods yet. We're not out of the woods. Now, but I'll tell you more about how we're not out of the woods in a minute. But first of all, interesting, I don't know how many of you are into astrology or numerology. There was an interesting piece of astrology. I saw it the other day. Hang on. Where is it? I should have... Anyway, astrology for the general election 2019. I was looking this the other day. Where was it? Here we go. Now you may have noticed. Today is Friday the 13th. Yeah. But Thursday was a full moon. This is very interesting. On the Gemini full moon, the UK general election, the south nodes Saturn, Neptune, Venus, Pluto, and Jupiter, all in Capricorn. The full moon is also in Capricorn. Plenty of grounding Earth energy. In both 1066, that's the date of the Norman conquest, and 1801, which is when the Act of Union was signed with Scotland. That's the last Act of Union, not the earlier one in 1536. That's the 1801 one. Oh, that was the Act of Union with Wales. But there was another one with Scotland earlier. But the sun is in Capricorn. UK is a country built on tradition, getting things done in spite of emotions. Yeah, Capricorn is a sign, or is a sign of pragmatism. I don't know how much you know about astrology, but a Capricorn is a goat. Goats are practical creatures. I mean, I knew this lady once who was into astrology. She said, "Oh, I hate being Capricorn. Capricorns are always looked down on because we're supposed to be so materialistic and so and selfish and things like that." And I said, "Well, this lady wasn't selfish actually." I said to her, "Look, on the good side though, the Capricorns are goats. Look, the thing about a goat is nothing gets in the way of a goat." Capricorns have a lot of determination. And goats. I mean, I've seen goats climbing with just climbing with their hooves up an almost vertical cliff. Nothing gets in the way of a goat. I mean, one in like an ibex or one of these goats in the Alps. So we have Venus in Capricorn and Aquarius are known for their emotional stiffness, reserves in expressing emotions and detachment. So it's been a pragmatic action, this election. I mean, it's been very logical. I mean, I feel very emotional about it. And I'm sure a lot of people do. But to me, it's really quite a very simple, rational equation here. It really is. So that's interesting. Now, what's another thing that's very interesting? This came up actually on Hapanmo Radio. This is very interesting. But do you remember that? Do you remember the Mayan calendar changeover, 21st December 2012? And I've done a video about it, and I actually did a video diary at the time. It's still on my channel. If you want to watch my 2012 video diary, go ahead. But the actual, you see, the U.S. Naval Observatory, which is the principal place where these things are worked out, they calculate not just we know what the day of the solstice solstice is, when the Earth's rotation reaches its fullest extent and then starts going back again, but they know the exact hour and minute. They can round it off to the nearest minute, and they found out that the actual moments of the winter solstice, the northern winter solstice on December the 21st, 2012. The date the Mayan calendar was changing over was 11/11. It was 11/11. And do you know about the 11/11 phenomenon? People keep seeing 11/11s everywhere. Ian R. Crane has talked about this a lot. And I found out actually that the 1999 solar eclipse. Now this was the one before the last solar eclipse. That last one, that was on. Hang on, I'm just get I can't remember the details. Let me just find the details. Where is it? Here we go. I'll have to go to the the Panmo show notes I did last night. Let's have a look. Yes. The 1999 eclipse, right? That was on the 11th of August, 1999. Well, guess what time it was? It was also 11/11. The point of maximum totality of that eclipse, which is the second last eclipse of the sun in Britain, was 11:11 a.m. How about that? Well, guess what? Yesterday was the 12th of the 12th. It was 12th of December. 12/12/2019 was yesterday's date. Now, numerology of that. The 12/12. Now 2019. If you add it all up, add up all the figures in 2019. 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 9, you get 12. So you could call this 12/12/12. Now it's for bad things as well, such as the London bombings was the 7th to the 7th, 2007. Again, that's a 777 number. This is a 12/12/12 number. Now the full moon, the full moon yesterday reached its peak fullness, according to the U.S. Naval Observatory, at guess what time? 12:12 a.m. How about that, eh? Just a coincidence, nothing to worry about, as David Icke could say. Oh, how about that, eh? Interesting. I mean, it's funny, like, I think I don't need to go through this again. I mentioned it in my polling day video, but Ian R. Crane, who comes up with these sorts of things, he was always very keen that people should vote. Even in pre-2016, he was saying, he did this talk called Apathy Kills, warning people to get out there and vote, engage in the political game. I didn't agree with him, but I do now. So And I was saying to someone yesterday, because it was looking pretty bad. Right, I say even Maya Tusi was was frowning a little bit when the actual the Ipsos poll was released. That's the one with the seats, and it looked like a hung parliament was quite likely, 45% chance of a hung parliament, and Boris would lose his majority. Boris would lose; he would have to step down as prime minister, and Corbyn would take over. Funny enough, I said to somebody, look, I said, look, if that happens, we mustn't give up. We'll get there in the end, but we might have to take the scenic route. But as it happens, we're taking the quick route, although it might well be scenic. Now, I'm going to talk about what this. Let me talk about Scotland. Let's go back to Scotland. Let's go back and find out my notes about Scotland. Right, results. Right, where was that page? There's a special page about Scotland. Hang on. Oh, here we go. Scotland, right. Well, first of all, Jo Swinson lost her seat. That's the biggest news. The Lib Dems have down. The Lib Dems didn't suffer as badly as I hoped they would. Remember, in 2015, the Liberal Democrats lost. They crashed out. They in 2015, because they were in that crooked junior partner. They were a crooked junior partner with David Cameron, if you remember, in the coalition government there. Nick Clegg was their leader, and they completely crashed out. They were left with just one MP, and they gained that back. They now have their 11. They have their cricket team, 11 MPs, down one. They lost 2, gained 1. One of the people who lost was Jo Swinson. And again, this is just perfect karma. I mean, there's so much karma in this election. It's unbelievable. It's like karmic cycles are coming around quicker and they're more pronounced. Karma. I mean, I've experienced this in my life where I do something bad and it comes back to bite me and things like this. This is happening quicker and quicker and more extremely. Anna Soubry's also kicked out. I've got a list. I should go through this, haven't I? About the famous people who've lost. A lot of big names are gone. Now, Jo Swinson. I'll come back to Scotland in a minute, but let me just go through this. Jo Swinson lost her seat, and so she's inevitably stepped down as Lib Dem leader because she's no longer an MP. There's interesting. There was a lot of talk about getting Boris Johnson out of his seat. That was really childish. I'll say more about. Let me just make a note to talk about Boris Johnson's seat. Hang on. All right. Okay, so Nigel Dodds, the deputy leader of the DUP, he's gone. He lost his Belfast North seat to Sinn Féin. Dennis Skinner, the Beast of Bolsover, has gone. Now I've got mixed feelings about that. To begin with, I quite liked him. Unfortunately, he lost it a bit. I mean, he's pretty old. I mean, he's about 80 something now. He's been an MP since 1970. He was elected in 1970. And he's like a working class guy in Nottinghamshire Minor. He's gone. I mean, but then he was. I sort of went off him because he was like. He was like very much a Ramoner, I think. But that's really the giant killer. That is Dennis Skinner kicking out Dennis Skinner. Nobody's been able to unseat Dennis Skinner. He was like a piece of part of the furniture. Zach Goldsmith has gone. Yes, now he's a slimy little git. He was. I didn't trust him, and he was a Brexiteer, but I got the feeling he was COINTEL pro because he was running for the leadership, and I think he might have actually been the one they wanted in the leadership. It's funny. I'd like to talk to Caroline about this because Caroline is convinced that Boris is one of these people, and I don't agree with her. But I think that Goldsmith actually was. I think Boris is genuine, and Goldsmith was actually the guy that was going to be the controlled opposition after Theresa May, because of course Theresa May was a fake. She was a fake Brexiteer in the sense she was the Brexiteer prime minister who, of course, did everything she could to ruin it. I think Zach Goldsmith was always intended to replace her, and they got Boris instead. They got a genuine Brexiteer instead. He's gone. He's a Tory. He's gone. Now he, he was a very. I can't remember much about him. Only I didn't trust him. I think he was another fake Brexiteer. He was gonna take over after Boris and do the same thing that Theresa May did until Brexit got cancelled. Zach Goldsmith's father was an interesting chap. Actually, he was a guy called James Goldsmith, who actually set up what he called the Referendum Party, which is kind of a rival to UKIP. When UKIP first appeared on the scene, there were two parties, they were anti-EU parties. The other was called the Referendum Party, run by a guy called James Goldsmith. But James Goldsmith was a crook. I mean, he was a complete crook. He used to take over. He used to buy up companies and ruin them and take them over in a rather crooked way. Eventually, he went on the run. I think he was actually in Mexico or something, and they were trying to extradite him. Anyway, Laura Pinnock, I don't know much about her. Once tipped at part of the Red Wall in the northwest Durham, tipped as future party leader. Well, she's a woman, isn't she? But she lost her seat. Oh, Chuka Umunna's gone. Yes, Chuka got chucked out. I think I'm not surprised actually, because the bloody idiot. I mean, he was MP for Stretton in South London, and he was kicked out by the Tory Nicky Aiken. Lost 4,000 votes down. Bloody hell, that's a massive swing. Well, it's no wonder, because when he quit Labour, he was once going to be. He went up against Corbyn as a leader, and he quit Labour and he joined this independent group for change, along with Ushana Berger and all those other idiots, Anna Soubry and all those other morons. Do you remember CUCK? Change UK, CUCK. I don't know what it's called now. It's now calling itself Change. What's it called now? I don't know. But then he left CUCK and he became an independent. Then he joined the Lib Dems. And as I said in the last live stream, he was a bit of a joke, because he said he's never going to be invited to a Christmas party because everyone's scared he might change his mind and leave after 5 minutes. So no wonder. I mean, he should have just, at the moment he quit Labour, he should have immediately put himself up in a by-election. And his electorate have now told him so, because he wouldn't do that. He's chopped and changed his parties. He's been independent. And Chuka Umunna has now been unseated because his electorate has told him exactly what they think of this dilly-dallying around from him. Anna Soubry's lost her seat. I mean, who says there isn't a God? Anna Soubry is gone. Thank God for that. I mean, and enough said about her, the better. I mean, she was a horrible Ramona. I was going to talk about Scotland, wasn't I? Yeah. Right, Scotland. Got a bit of a problem with Scotland. The SNP lost. They had an absolute. It was 2015 that they actually virtually took over Scotland. SNP. They've done it again. They got 48. They're up 13 seats. They took 7 seats from the Tories. The Tories have got 6 seats left, mostly in, I say, Dumfries and Galloway in the south, near the borders. The Lib Dems have remained static, the same. Their little heartlands in the north. Labour down. They've just got 1 seat now left. They've got a seat in Edinburgh, and that's all. All Labour just have 1 left in Scotland. They're down 6. So Labour have actually gone now. So now Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, is now also her party is now leading in Westminster. I will do another video about this in the coming months and couple of years. But it's pretty obvious there's going to be another independence referendum. I don't see how they can stop it. I know Boris is against it. I don't understand why he's against it, but constitutionally you can't prevent it. I mean, I'm unlike the Ramonas. You know, when the Indie Ref, the first Indie Ref came back as Remain for the Scotland to stay in the UK. You know, I would have just shrugged my shoulders and said, okay, the people have spoken. But then Brexit happened. And now if Brexit happened, constitutionally, that means there is a legitimate case to have a second independence referendum, because the people of Scotland actually voted mostly to remain. If you take Scotland as a nation alone, I think they were like 60 to 70% remain. And Sturgeon is very keen on an independent. This is where it gets really Orwellian. Nicola Sturgeon is talking about an independent Scotland leaving the UK, becoming independent as a member state of the European Union. And 2 + 2 really does equal 5. And Oceania is at war with East Asia. Eurasia are our allies. Yes, it's as ridiculous as that. So just talk about independent member state of the EU. It's crazy. It's absurd. It's like talking about cool heat. It's contradictory. It's like saying all bachelors are married men. It's lunacy. So what we're going to have now is the EU the Brussels, and I think are now going to turn their attention to Scotland. I know at the moment Scotland's at the back of the queue for membership, but Sturgeon, I don't know if she's been invited to the Bilderberg group yet. I know Alex Salmond was, her predecessor, First Minister. But that big fish, Nicola Sturgeon, wee Jimmy Cranky lookalike, she's gonna take her country into the maw of the empire. The Brussels. Brussels may not get all of the UK now, but they're going to take a big bite out of it. They're going to bite off a big chunk of it, Scotland, and they're going to digest it. So that's bad news. Okay, so let's go to Boris's constituency. Where's that? Let's have a look. Boris's constituency result. Here we go. Oh, what was his name? Uxbridge, yeah. All right, it's Uxbridge and something else. Uxbridge and South Ruislip. Here we go. This is the parliamentary constituencies in West London. And where are we? Right, yes. 2019, Boris was up against a number of people, including there was no Brexit Party candidate. I said the Brexit Party did say they wouldn't challenge seats held by the Tories, but he was up against his principal rival was a Labour candidate called Ali Risa Milani, who is Maya Tusi doesn't like this person because they both have Iranian roots. And but this person has turned against their adopted country, whereas Maya Tusi has fallen in love with his adopted country. But now Boris, there was always a risk that Boris might lose it, because it's actually for prime ministers usually get very they get very safe seats. They're given safe seats normally to be in. A lot of them are like parachutists or carpetbaggers. They live somewhere else, and they're representing a seat they don't live in. They're not local MPs. But Boris got he finished his last majority is quite small, 23,000 or nearly 23,700, as opposed to Vincent Lowe, who was the previous candidate, 18,600. So it was actually it was actually a little bit nerve-wracking because they were up 13%. Boris was actually reduced from 2015. Because in 2015, he got 22,000 and the Labour got 11,000. So when Ali Milani came along and said he was going to challenge Boris Johnson at Uxbridge and South Ruislip, all the Ramona twats, these horrible people, these nasty little slimy haters, they started focusing their campaigning on that particular constituency, and the only reason I can think they're doing it is out of spite, because it was Boris's constituency, which is incredibly juvenile. One of them was Owen Jones. Owen Jones. I don't have to remind you who Owen Jones is, do I? Oh dear, he's he's a little left-wing Ramona. He's horrible. I've seen you've seen his arguments with Daniel Bostock. They're so funny, and Daniel's written a song about him. Daniel Bostock, his music is so good. Well, guess what? Jones was actually tweeting. Where is it? Where's Owen Jones's tweet? I'll just find it. Tweet. There we go. Where is it? Just trying to find out where he says. Oh, he's just saying Boris Johnson is a racist. He leads a racist, homophobic party. They say that's you know they're doing that. Yes, they're doubling down the Ramonas. You know, there's no self-reflection at all. Let me just find. I actually follow Owen Jones. I have to, I have loads of people I follow I can't stand. They're kind of it's called hate following. So I follow Kevin Logan, I follow Christy Winters, Mike Stutchbury, Ben Goldacre, all these other people. Where is he? Yeah, well, I can't find the actual tweet, but he was basically saying, could everyone go and vote in the everyone who lives in Uxbridge and South Ryde, please go and vote Labour. Let's get the Prime Minister out of his seat. Let's have him basically doing what actually happened to Joe Swinson. They wanted to do to Boris. I'm just. I've got to go through his. I really got to go through his. I follow Ash Sarkar. I follow her too. Oh, she's having a meltdown, isn't she? No, I don't want to dwell on this because I could have a field day here gloating over these tweets. But he has. He was saying. I don't want to waste your time. Sorry. Get out there and vote. Get out and vote. If you live in Uxbridge and South Ryde, let's get the Tories out. No, get Boris out of his seat. I mean, to target Boris himself surely is pretty childish, isn't it? To target himself, to actually target Boris himself, is really, I think, it's like something a little kid would do, isn't it? It really is like something a little kid would do. I've got some dragon juice here as well. Right. I can't find it, not to worry. But the truth of the matter is, this is what happened. In the end, Boris Johnson, 25,300, Ali Milani, 18,000. So Boris increased his majority by 1.8%. And Ali Milani, the Labour candidate, it dropped to 2.4%. Lots of other people. I mean, you could have actually voted for several other people in that particular election. For example, Lord Buckethead, Count Binface, and Yace Interplanetary Time Lord Jongenstein. Lord Buckethead got 125 votes. That's quite something. Anyway, so Boris increased his majority in his seat, and they didn't manage, despite all these nasty, these slimy little backstabbing and spiteful attempts to unseat him by the left and Owen Jones and people like that. Boris actually increased his majority. So again, that's karma. That's another example of justice being done in the universe. Now, if Boris had actually lost his seat, now that's never happened. A sitting prime minister has never lost their seat. Certainly, I think it's a pity that Tony Blair has actually stepped down from Parliament, because Sedgefield went to the Tory. He lost Sedgefield, his old constituency. The Labour MP who took over from Blair, they lost their seat last night. I wish it had been Blair. No, but if what happens is if a sitting prime minister loses their seat in an election, which never happened, it wouldn't mean that he'd be under pressure to step down. But what the plan is, what they would do, they have a contingency plan. They would hold a by-election in another safe Tory seat. They would pay off the sitting MP there, and Boris would have stood in that seat, and he would have hopefully been elected to that seat. So he wouldn't have lost. He wouldn't have, if he had lost his constituency and he'd lost the election in his own seat, he would still have been prime minister. Probably he would remain prime minister. He would have continued. So what does this mean for Brexit? Well, Guy Verhofstadt, the one who got horrible little, that globalist little new reincarnation of Kalergi with the big teeth, he tweeted this: Brexit will now happen. The British people have confirmed their referendum decision of 2016. The EU must now focus on building a new, close, fair and lasting partnership with Britain. It is in our common interests. Oh, Brexit will now help happen. The people have confirmed their referendum decision of 2016. No more second referendums then. I mean, the thing is, like, it's What happened last night is the closest thing to a second referendum, a people's vote, you're going to get. In a sense, that was a second referendum. I said this, didn't I, on the last live stream? I said this essentially is going to be a second referendum on the EU, on Brexit. I tweeted it for Hofstadt. Actually, I felt like mouthing off at him because he was the guy who, I think it was him or one of these other. They're all the same. These dead-eyed suited bureaucrats. I can't tell one from the other. But he was one of these people. I think it was him who said, "There is a special place in hell for people who voted for Brexit." So he horrible. And he also said Britain belongs to the European Union. I think that was him. Anyway, I tweeted back. I was considering just letting go at him and calling him names, but I didn't. I decided to be dignified about it, and I just put, "Let my people go," which of course is from the Bible. It's what Moses said, "Let my people go." So now, but the good news is this: what this means for Brexit is finally, there's light at the end of the tunnel for Brexit now. The door is open, finally, for Brexit. It doesn't mean it's all plain sailing. It doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet. Not by a long way. I'll explain more. Anyway, the very first thing Boris is going to do on Monday morning, he's going to table the withdrawal agreement bill again. Now it's already been passed. So this is like the second stage. So it's already been passed. It was passed even with a crappy old parliament that are Ramona's ganging up on him. He managed to get it through by a few votes, if you remember. The withdrawal agreement bill has been passed already. He's going to just put it back for the second stage. It's going to go for a second reading. And basically, if that's passed, and remember, Boris has a majority now. It's very unlikely it will not be passed. I mean, I can't believe this flowchart. And I've been showing you these flowcharts. I haven't been showing you them. I've been using them. They're very complicated. They have little bits here. Stop Brexit here. Will this happen? Will that happen? All kinds of little branches. These little troubleshooter lines. It's just a straight one now. December 2019. PM's withdrawal agreement passed. 31st of January, Brexit Day. Trade talks begin within weeks. 30th of June 2020. Trade deal likely to be ratified December 2020. January 2021, start a new relationship with the EU. That's the end of the transitional period. No, you just extend the transitional period, or continue in January, continue without a trade deal, which is like the post-Brexit equivalent of a no deal. Now, any more troubles? Now, Boris now is in a commanding position, as Sargon said. It's pretty clear for Hofstadt's tweet that Boris now has the advantage and he's in control. And what he should do now is start putting his foot down and dictating and saying, this is how Britain's going to leave. It's taken long enough. We now have, for the first time, we have a prime minister with a majority government who actually wants to get this done and is not going to collaborate with you damn traitors and you damn occupiers, you forces of foreign occupation. And we want freedom. We want independence. This is how we're going to do it. And it should go from one stage to the other, like Ireland in 1919 with the Irish Free State was created. It should be like that. It should just go straight from one stage to the other to the other. So hopefully that's what's going to happen. Basically, now I'm looking down the tunnel and I can see light at the end of it. I can see Brexit coming towards us, or we're going towards it. For the first time ever, the door is open to Brexit. This whole thing has changed. It's like, I can just see it ahead of us for the first time ever. No obfuscation, no doubts, no fear. It looks we are on the home straight now. The finish line is there, and of course I will cover that in more detail closer to the time. But I really can see Brexit happening now. If it doesn't, well, Diego Rivera, I'm sure is. I'm not reading the comments at the moment. I'm sure Diego Rivera is continuously posting about how Boris is a Zionist shill and he's going to betray us over Brexit. Interestingly, I had some comments from a guy on BitChute about this. I'll read those out as well. So that's what's going to happen. That's always the possibility now. Now, obviously the threat of the Brexit party splitting the vote has not happened. Now, it did happen in a few constituencies. There's signs that, like, there was a Brexit Party number of votes where the Conservatives got like less, and if you add the Brexit Party onto the Conservatives, they would have beaten the Labour candidate, which could indicate the Brexit Party split the vote. But someone, I mean, Mrs. B actually said this, and I know Nigel Farage's deputy said this, and I'm considering it because I was pretty annoyed with after I watched Maya Tusi and he did a video about this. I was annoyed because I got the feeling that Farage was kind of like the extra cook that spoiled the broth, and now it's. But then someone said that Farage also would take votes from Labour because this is an area where people vote Labour out of tradition and would probably not vote Tory out of simply tradition. It's a cultural block, in almost a mental block that would be very hard to shift. But the people who would never vote Tory instead of Labour would vote Brexit Party instead of Labour. So it's possible that the Brexit Party actually took some votes from the Labour as well. People who have ardent leavers but still would vote Labour out of some kind of family tradition. But the Brexit Party actually may well have encouraged those people. It would be an alternative to the Tories, which would reduce the Labour vote. Also, I mean, it's possible the vote splitting you could see in many constituencies. It's possible the Lib Dems were acting in the same way. They were splitting the Ramona vote. I mean, certainly, I'll go my own constituency. The results in my own constituency. Oxford East. Hang on, what's it? Oh, I'll just put in the name there. Annalisa Dodds. Annalisa Dodds is our MP here in Oxford, and she took over from Andrew Smith, who was Blair's Education Secretary. And here we go. Right, the details of right, yeah. She's a Labour. She's from the Cooperative Labour Party, which is like that. They have a deal. It's not actually the Labour Party, but they always stand for the Labour Party. There's like they're an affiliate, the Cooperative Labour Party. She got like here we go. She got 28,000. So it's actually a drop, 8.2 off her majority. Louise State, who's the carpetbagger, the Tory carpetbagger, 10,000. That's one of the ones I voted for. 10,303. Hadn't been for me, it would be 10,302. Now, the Lib Dems had six. Now, if you look at the Lib Dems here, 6,884. Green, 2,332. Nice, sorry, 392. Now, the Greens, Lib Dems, they are alternative Ramona parties. Now, if you add these all together, we have 2,392, 6,884. You add them on to the Conservative. It doesn't actually come close to unseating the Labour candidate, but it would have reduced her comparative majority considerably. And now that in some other seats, you could well believe that could actually reach the point where it would split the Ramona vote. I had like an argument. It wasn't an argument exactly, but I had a heated discussion with someone I know as a regular viewer, and is an ardent Remainer and Labour supporter and Jeremy Corbyn supporter. And I had to like just in the end tell her, look, I was very polite to her. I said, look, I don't want to discuss this with you because we talked about it so many times before. But she was saying to me, look, the EU is just a trade club, and I've said it's not just a trade club. This is the person I talked about, I think, on the previous live stream, who's saying that basically the Tories are going to ruin the NHS. And I was explaining that it's actually I saw the NHS. I was a hospital porter for 23 years, which included all 13 years of the last Labour government. Far more damage was done during the period of the Labour part than was ever done. I mean, the PFI thing, Carillion PLC, and that sort of thing, the Private Finance Initiative, even Thatcher wouldn't dare go that far. And that did terrible damage to the NHS. So the things you saw on the Daily Mirror, the pictures of the little kiddies sleeping on the floor, I saw that many times. And very often it was under a Labour government. So I had this discussion with this person, but I was actually quite pleased. It's quite nice to be able to disagree with someone and not and not end up like completely falling out with them, because we're still friends. Anyway, guys. I'll go through that now. I'm going to go through some of the comments on the notice, on the show notice, so on the live stream notice. Let's have a look. I also want to address the some people have been leaving comments on BitChute, which I'm going to talk about too. Okay, we have Diego Rivera saying, Diego Rivera 2, Genius 2 says, I've changed my mind completely. Boris Johnson is the real deal. Vote for him. No, of course he didn't. He said, UK election totally rigged for Rothschild puppet Boris Johnson. 30RT30 said, have a cry on my chest, commie. Here's a hanky. Brexit's going to happen. Boo hoo hoo. Yeah, exactly. 30R. And then Diego Rivera calls 30R a Zionist puppet. And 30R says, Marxist muppet. It's like a song, isn't it? Zionist puppet, Marxist muppet. Have a cry on my chest, commie. Yeah. Diego Rivera. Rothschild created Marxism. You muppet. Oh, blimey. Muppet. Puppet. You're a Rothschild puppet too, you muppet. All right. Someone composed a tune for that. Steve071 said Boris is going to win, and he did, yes. Mick Ramos said Rob S. YouTube common law man. All right, I don't know what that means. But anyway, let me just go to BitChute, because I've had numerous comments. I'm not going to read them all, from someone called I Piss Rainbow Glitter. That's his name. And he's left loads of comments on my polling, on my last general election video, which I always upload to BitChute as well. And now I Piss Rainbow Glitter is saying, how long will it take until he fucks over the voter? He has a habit of being a pathological liar. And I said underneath here, maybe he won't. Let's see. I'm dealing with the subject in tonight's live stream. And I tell him basically to tune in. So if you're listening, I Piss Rainbow Glitter, or you're watching, this is it. And he said, and then Rainbow Glitter said, maybe Boris won't, is like saying snow isn't cold. You see, this comes back to this old idea: is Boris a shill? Is Boris a shill? This is something I discussed with this is something I discussed with Claire Ray Randall on the Herpanmo show last night. There's several reasons why I think Boris Johnson is not. Now, it's the issue with Zach Goldsmith, for example. I mean, I think Zach Goldsmith was going to be the controlled Brexiteer. I really think he was. But they got Boris Johnson instead. And now Zach Goldsmith's lost his seat. Now, this is something I've discussed many times. Caroline Stevens, of course, completely disagrees with me on this. She did an interview with a guy called Ivan, where he talks about how Boris is he's been writing to the United Nations, talking about a United Nations program for internationalism. And it's true, Boris did use the correct terminology, the terminology that's in there. However, I don't know. This is not proof. It's something he could have come up with. It's like almost like a generic term. There's not in itself evidence that Boris is connected to that program. There's lots of other examples of this. I don't know. Diego Rivera is now filling. I know he or she has been. It's a he actually. I've seen it. I've been to his channel. He's a man. He's filling up the comment section now with all sorts of things like this. But the thing about Boris is, there's a reason I don't think Boris is a shill, along with all the other reasons I don't. And I thought of another one, and I was talking about it with Claire. Is that I think if you were in the Illuminati and you wanted to choose a fake Brexiteer to keep Britain in the EU, you would firstly be someone they wouldn't have done the things that Boris have done. They would have done the things that Theresa May would have done, and indeed Zach Goldsmith was going to do. And they would also they would also not be like Boris. They would be more conventional. You realise that Boris's charisma and like his character, in a sense, you can tell is not fabricated. And I know someone is watching this and they're yelling at the screen, yes, it is Ben. Everything he does, his crazy hair, the way he acts, all these jokes he plays, all these stunts and things like that, it's all staged. He's a fake persona. He's acting. He's pretending to be this person that he is. Why? You see, a fake Brexiteer wouldn't be like Boris. A fake Brexiteer would be somebody who's probably much more conventional. They would be much more like a kind of normal politician. And I know this because the Illuminati, even despite all their efforts into controlling us through psychology and their study of our psyche, and the Tavistock Institute and Common Purpose and the Fabian Society and all these think tanks, their disadvantage to us is they fundamentally misunderstand humans, the human species. They completely misjudge us in many, many significant ways, and there's nothing they can do because they don't understand us, because then, well, they're not human. That's why they are not human. And I'm not going to go down that route of going into any more details, but they're not human. Put it that. Just leave it the fact they're not human, and they can't create. They don't understand unusual characters in humans. They can't fabricate a character as unusual as Boris Johnson, which is another reason why I think Boris is genuine. This is why I not only have my T-shirt on, I have my T-shirt. I have this T-shirt on, my Make Britain Independent again. I'm wearing that again. See, okay. Now, so I'll just go to the comments. I won't be able to answer all these comments, guys. As you know, I should have told you at the beginning. I've got to just get rid of the trolls. That's all I can do. And indeed, some of them have gone over the horizon. I can't see them. But I'll be here forever otherwise. I'm sorry, but but I appreciate you leaving these comments. I really do. And I'm like I say, if you hopefully you've been talking to each other, which is great. The problem is I just run out of them. You know, there's just too many. So I'm just going to go through and see if I see any. Oh, Sweeps. Hi, Sweeps. How are you? Sweeps Foxman's here. I'll just say hello to Odds and Sods. Hello. James Tilly Matthews. Greetings. Diane Abbott. James, I'm sure Diane Abbott is still counting the votes now, and she thinks that Labour has won. Tina Silver says, mix the jungle juice with the wine and make sangria. I don't think it would be very nice sangria, you know. All right, so I'm just going to scroll down these, and I'll start answering your. But I can't answer all your questions. I'm sorry. 69 Phuket says Brexit will be hard. Austerity continues. Well done, Tory scum. This is one of the things. This is one of the things I was debating with this person on Facebook, because she was saying, you know, how could you vote Tory? You look what the Tories have done, and they points to austerity and things like that. And I said to her, look, do you honestly think that if Gordon Brown had remained Prime Minister and David Cameron hadn't taken over, do you honestly think austerity would not have happened? The banking bailout would not have happened. And all these other things, they would simply not have happened. Do you really believe that? So to blame the Tories for this sort of thing is completely wrong. It really is. Lots of talk about Owen Jones here. Yeah, Owen Jones, it turns out that, Owen Jones actually was attacked by some people outside a pub. Now, I didn't believe it at the time. I thought this was a kind of Jesse Smollett thing, that he'd made it up. But it turns out they have actually arrested some people for it, so it looks like it did happen. So I've got to apologise to Owen there. Stephen the Truth Seeker says, Boris is a strange name. You know, Boris is actually his middle name, and his first name is Alexander. He's Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson is his full name. And his family call him Alex. But Boris is kind of the name he uses for politics. Unite Planet, hello, how are you? It's Claire here. It's Cosmic Claire. Cosmic Claire, hello. How are you, Cosmic Claire? Isn't it great? I mean, it was wonderful, Claire. I mean, Claire and I did this. I hope you got on well with your interview, by the way. Claire, please, if you go to her Panmo Radio, there's a link in the description box to my Brexit portal, so you'll be able to see that. I did put it in, didn't I? Did I put the Brexit portal in? Yes. Where I did an interview. You'll find everything on there. But I did a radio interview, Panmo Radio with Claire, Cosmic Claire, on last night, which is broadcast. I recorded it Tuesday. It was on last night, and it was a really, really good interview. It's a long one. It's an hour and 3/4, and we go really into details with things. It was a great, great interview. So thank you very much for that, Claire. And we were talking about the election, and of course, then we found out that Boris won. We didn't know Boris won. We were on the air actually when the exit polls were revealed, so it was quite something. But Claire was actually is going to be on THA Talks as well. That's I've been on them. That's John White and Paul somebody. What's his Paul Tagliatelle? What's it? Oh, I don't know what name he uses, but THA Talks, yeah. Oh yeah. And Lisa, are you drinking wine too, Lisa? Good. Paul Armstrong. Hello, Paul. Hey, Paul, I've got to ask you. In that Panmo Radio chat box, your avatar, is it the old me? Because you know that app that you could put your face in, it would make you look older. I put my face into this app, which aged me 40 years. And I look like an extra from The Hills Have Eyes. And I think Paul Armstrong is using it as his avatar in the chat box of the Panmo Radio. Ends 3103. Hello, how are you? Iman Padima, hello. Where are we now? Okay, I'm trying to get through as many of these comments as I can. David Morgan, hello, how are you? David was another person I was inboxing last night, along with Mrs. B, because just to talk about the election as it happened. Did you stay up all night, David? I actually I did go to sleep in the end because I was really tired, so I went to sleep. But thanks for joining us. Thank you very much, David. It's great to see you here, David. It really is. Yeah, and David says, hi, Ben. What I like is a comparison of a different Brexit Party scenarios between standing 650, 317, or just in the very hard Labour seats. I don't know. The effect that the Brexit Party had is hard to judge. It may not be as bad as I thought, or Maya Tusi was thinking. Unite Planet says, my concern is nothing will change. The Blues and Reds have always been in control as long as I know. Yeah, you see, the two-party system is still there, Unite Planet, and we don't have proportional representation. We actually had a referendum on reform, parliamentary reform, to have proportional representation, and it was rejected. But I think things will change. Things will change simply because of this. We have the post-2016. The 2016 effect is really kicking in now. United States and Britain particularly, but in other countries as well. So things have to change. There's a book out. I haven't read it yet, but I listened to an interview with the author. It's called The Rise of National Populism. And it's talking about how this is a force that is not going to go away. Who else do we have? Yeah. Diego Rivera. Now, Diego Rivera was making a point they've made before about how Boris is related to his family background, his class background, etc., the Bullingdon Club and things. Now, Diego Rivera, there's I think there's a bit of an inverted snobbery here from you, and I've talked about this on the last live stream. For me, yes, he has a background which is different from Trump's. And that is a concern. He doesn't have the sort of apolitical background that President Trump has. But that is not a reason on its own to denounce him, I believe, and saying that how can Boris not be a member of the Illuminati with etc. is, I think it's possible that he just because of this doesn't make him the Illuminati. He was in the Bullingdon Club, and the Bullingdon Club are horrible people. I talked before about them. They're infamous here in Oxford, where I live. Oh, but again, I don't think he didn't kill the tortoise. I've not heard of him burning money in front of homeless people. They have the Bullingdon Club members have done that, and that's a disgusting thing to do. I'll sue Hayward Tompkins. I do. I hope he does too, Sue. I'm going to do. I'll do another video. I'll do more videos and probably at least one more live stream when we know more about what's happening with Brexit now. It's not. We are not out of the woods yet. I mean, I don't believe they can stop us, but I doubt if the Ramonas are going to give up completely. I mean, if you look at the response from the Labour supporters, people like Owen Jones, Ash Sarkar, and people like that, they're doubling down. There's no self-reflection at all. I mean, anyone on our side of the fence can see quite clearly why they lost. They lost because they showed complete contempt for the British public, total contempt. Calling us white van drivers, calling us evil white males, racist, misogynist, sexist, etc. And you think that after the kicking they got last night, they would sit down and look at themselves and ask themselves, look, what did we do to deserve this? And they're not doing it. They've actually, I mean, Sargon provides he provides Owen Jones's tweets, but also several other people who are just saying, evil racists are taking over the country. And why won't the people listen to us? Why will they not follow our wisdom? So they're just doubling down. And this means they're just going to carry on. Now, I don't think it'll work, Sue. I really don't. I don't think it'll work. But I think Gina Miller, as I said, is probably hammering on the doors of the courthouse right now. Bang it! I want a second general election. I mean, she may literally be that. She may say we need a people's general election. I mean, I've been joking about it on social media. I said, as I have tonight, you know, Boris hasn't won yet. What about the second general election? We're going to have a people's general election, and he won't win that. But could they actually find some reason to call for a second general election? Do you think they will? Oh, so I hope so too, Sue. And I mean, I appreciate you commenting. I know it's an odd time of day for you because you're in Australia. I understand you have problems at the moment with your family, and I really, as I said on Facebook, I wish you all the best for that. I really do, and I'm really glad you took the time to come and join us here to this evening and your morning. I really do. Diego Rivera says, how can you be against the New World Order when you support those who lead it? I don't, Diego Rivera. That's the thing. I don't. Where are we now? Now, on the subject now, funny enough, Diego Rivera says this is the biggest electoral fix in history. So I take it, Diego Rivera, your position is that that there was vote rigging, and that the result of vote rigging was that they engineered it to get Boris in. Can I ask you, Diego Rivera, by what criteria would you accept that the New World Order was over? Just tell me, what criteria would, if you looked at something and you said, right, that means the New World Order is either over or is in big trouble, what would it be? Because, I mean, I've asked lots of people this question. I mean, there's some people who are notorious for being very kind of, everyone's shills and everything's fixed, and I asked one of them, I won't name him, but you'll probably guess who I'm talking about. I asked one of them this question, and he said, if I turn on the 10 o'clock news and I see Dr. Judy Wood being interviewed on the mainstream media, I will know the New World Order is over. My response to that is, okay, but do you believe that would happen spontaneously? Would it happen just out of the blue? Or would there be a process involved? Would there be some kind of process leading up to that? Because I don't believe that Dr. Judy Wood being on the 10 o'clock news would be a rather large causeless effect, wouldn't it? I believe that Dr. Judy Wood may be on the 10 o'clock news one day, in which case, yes, I agree. I think we can safely say the New World Order is in big trouble when that happens. But I believe that eventuality would be the end result of a process. And I believe right now we are in that process. And I know you don't. I know Diego Rivera doesn't either. Anyway, where was I? Let's go up. Yeah. I'm sorry I won't be able to get through. Peaceful Warrior says, war with Iran. Oh, that's a response to someone. Hello, Peaceful Warrior. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Let's talk about Prince Andrew and lots of talk about Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, which is yeah. Do you remember I did a live stream about that? Yeah. Lisa says Ben has a wonderful, boyish, genuine enthusiasm. It should be bottled. It's here, Lisa. That's my enthusiasm. Yeah, David Schultz says that Prince Andrew bombshell, Ghislaine Maxwell, yep, and that sort of thing, and Epstein. You see, the thing with Boris and Brexit is just one part of this, what I call the 2016 effect. It includes a lot of other things as well, such as the Trump phenomenon and the way UFOs, the UFO situation has changed considerably. And I mean, whatever you think about it, people have different opinions about the modern UFO situation. I've done a whole series of videos on that called UFO Disclosure 2019. But you can't deny that the way UFOs are being treated by the media has changed, really, really changed. And for whatever reason, the 70-year program based on the Twining memo has been cancelled and changed with something else. David Schultz says, Jeffrey Epstein's longtime banker found dead from hanging? Really? David, have you got a source for that? Because that's incredible. I think Ghislaine Maxwell needs to... I mean, I want to say it now, right? Ghislaine Maxwell didn't kill herself. It's Prince Andrew didn't kill himself. These people, it's incredible. They're just... I can't believe the skeptics who are saying this is coincidence. Do you know the skeptics are still saying Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide? It's like the denial. The absolute denial is unbelievable. So that the whole Epstein thing, Brexit, my nose is itching, sorry. The UFO situation, it's all connected. It's all part of the 2016 phenomenon. There's many, many others. Yeah. Paul is now using my app. He doesn't have it here on YouTube, but in the chat box, he has me as an old man as his avatar, which is very, very... I don't know what you're trying to say with that, Paul. I don't know. Now, Peaceful Warrior, the Iran situation, I'll cover another time. But it's definitely they're trying to get Trump into a war with Iran, and maybe they're threatening Melania or something. But I just hope he can stop that. I really do. I hope he can drain the swamp to that point. Right. Claire, all right. Where are we now? Diego Rivera, who are the ruling elite? The Illuminati. They are basically, well, the Illuminati. I don't want to go into too much detail because we go down a rabbit hole here, but they're not human. Put it that way. The Illuminati are not human. Where are we now? Ben Perryman. Hello, Ben Perryman. How are you? Good name, Ben. That is, yeah. Right, where are we now? Peaceful Warrior says, I've served my country. I'm a proud white British straight male, and there's nothing wrong with that. Quite so. Good for you, Peaceful Warrior. Same here. It's this whole thing about making white people hate themselves. I've talked about this with Claire on the show last night, and I talked about it on the last live stream. It's all a mind control exercise. It's cultural Marxism. It's an attack against the human mind. As George Orwell so perfectly pointed out in 1984, about how it worked. He did it so long ago, and it's so predictable what happened. Where are we now? Peaceful Warrior also says Nicola Sturgeon needs to be ejected. No respect for democracy. Independence vote was supposed to be once in a generation. It was indeed, Peaceful Warrior. And honestly, if it wasn't for the Brexit situation, I would say there shouldn't be a second independence referendum. And I personally, I would have been, if the Scots had decided to become independent, and indeed it's possible there was some vote rigging involved, I'd have been. I mean, if they'd won a fair vote to leave, I'd have been supporting them. I really would. I'd wish them luck. But the problem is, I would wish them luck again. However, I'd say to anyone Scottish listening to this, watching me, listen to my voice and watching me right now, if you want independence, good luck to you. I'm in favour of you making that decision to become a country outside the United Kingdom. It's your country, it's your choice. But for goodness sake, make it real independence. What Sturgeon wants to do to you is remove you from what is essentially an equal partnership, a very functional equal partnership with England that goes back centuries, and suck you into a continental empire which will digest you, fragment you, and poo you out onto the table as shit. It has done for so many other countries. This is not independence. This is the opposite of independence. Unfortunately, constitutionally, with Brexit coming up, I don't think. But I mean, I think Boris might understand this, which is why he's going to try and block it. But I don't think he can constitutionally. So unless the Scottish people wake up, there's going to be another a pseudo independence referendum, which it's not an independence referendum. It's the independence is the choice, which I just said. They're going to essentially be asking the Scottish people, do you want to stay in this equal partnership with England and this very functional partnership, or do you want to become like basically the doormat of Brussels and lose your country completely, have it absorbed completely into this dictatorship, this continental empire? Adrian, hello. Evening, Ben, says Adrian. I know somebody who was defacing and knocking over conservative signs. Talk about desperate. I'm not supposed to know that, but I found out. Oh, David, that is horrible, isn't it? I mean, I live in Ramona Cuck Central here in Oxford, and as I just said, Annalisa Dodds has a very safe seat. She's lost 5,000 votes from her majority, but she's still got a very comfortable seat here. There's Labour signs everywhere. I haven't touched them, and I wouldn't. I'm there seeing Green Party signs, Lib Dem signs all over the place. I would never deface them. I would never knock them over. For me, that is unethical behaviour. It's against the code of the warrior, which I respect. I am a noble enemy, as C.S. Lewis said. And so that's a pretty horrible thing these people were doing. But it's typical of those kinds of people. It's typical of the left. Diego Rivera says, end secret societies, Rothschild usury, Israel's apartheid state. Fair enough, Diego Rivera, but I mean, I'm against the New World Order too, which includes those things. But I don't see you believe that Boris Johnson is actually a part of that, and I don't. Peaceful Warrior says, I always ask people in Scotland who voted to leave, what if the English wanted rid of us and put it to the vote? They go right at the thought most of us respect the union. Yeah, I mean, maybe England could have an independence referendum from Scotland. There was a guy actually, his name was Adrian somebody. I listened to an interview with him, and he made a good point. Because people often think of Scotland as being kind of like dominated by England. And indeed, in the past, there's been some occasions where basically Scotland has essentially been like subject to imperial oppression by England. And indeed, Scotland has a very violent history. There's a lot of violence in Scottish history. You can't walk 100 yards almost without coming across the site of some battlefield or the location of a massacre or something like that. And a lot of it has to do with the incursions of England into Scotland, and indeed, but this guy, what was his name? Adrian somebody. He did a very interesting interview. He was saying that really today it's almost like a kind of equal partnership between England and Scotland. Ever since the time he says, ever since the time of James II, it's kind of been because England. James II was a Scottish king who ended up sitting on the throne of England. Yeah. Omega, I sympathise with your sentiments there, but I'm going to have to remove that comment because I'll end up getting swatted. Yeah, David Schultz says Bill Gates wants to export India's national ID system. That's scary, isn't it? Because they're putting everyone in India on a bloody database. And you might think, well, that's okay because it's just one country. India is one country, but it's a country with a huge population. In fact, 1 out of every 6 people in the world lives in India. Once you get those people, was it 1.6 billion or whatever of them onto a database, you're well on the way to a global ID database. James, here we go. James Silly Matthews, careful now. Prince Andrew is a close personal friend of mine and has opened me up to a lot of useful contacts. Oh my God, James, I'm going to say it now. James Tilly Matthews didn't kill himself. All right. James, the space. I can't answer questions on the space baby. All right. I think you've got all the information you're going to get for now. Okay. Justine Moxwell, the wonderful party planner. Honestly, she really needs to take care. I mean, I respect these people for coming forward. Her, Maxwell and Virginia Roberts Giuffre, because these women could actually face charges of trafficking charges themselves, because they are essentially collaborators. Now, of course, I think it would not actually end up in court because the defense is they were very young at the time. Or certainly, Roberts Jeffrey was. And also, let's face it. I mean, if they deliver the big names on a plate, the Clintons, the Andrews, all the others who've been accused, and if there's proof that they're involved, I think we could do some kind of plea bargain there, couldn't we? Offer them immunity. Would it be fair enough to offer them immunity in exchange for that? Peaceful Warrior, 9/11, the only time 2 planes have taken down 4 skyscrapers. Yeah, building 6 and 7. That's right. They've been like, it's really weird what happened. I mean, in a sense, the smaller buildings are even more interesting because they have like hollowed out holes in them, like almost like cylinder-shaped scoops. Do read Dr. Judy Wood's book, Where Did the Towers Go? And watch her lectures and check out Andrew Johnson's stuff on that, like checktheevidence.com. Very, very incriminating indeed, Peaceful Warrior. Yeah. Diego Vera, Trump is pushing for war, so is Israel. Boris is friend of Israel. Trump is not pushing for war. Trump is pushing back against the people in the US administration who want war. Israel, of course, Israel wants US to follow it and go for Iran, just like they did for Iraq. Boris is a friend of Israel. I don't think he is. He has played diplomatic lip service to Israel. This does not make him some kind of Zionist shill. I've explained this to you before. James Tilly Matthews, 9/11 was a Tyneside job. That was Truth Seekers Northeast, I think, Cosmic Claire says, did you see Boris's speech in front of number 10? Yes. Reminding me of Maggie quoting the prayer of St. Francis. It was very good. It was a good speech. I mean, he talks about the need for change, and because he understands, Boris, I think, understands very cleverly that a lot of people who voted here for him are not conservatives with a big C. And that includes me. I wouldn't call myself a supporter of the Conservative Party. So he wants to basically to open his administration out to those people. He said, he says, I will not betray the trust of the people who voted for me. And I believe him, unlike so many other these politicians who talk like that. I believe him. As I said, I think if Boris was a fake, he wouldn't be the way he is. The Illuminati, I don't think, are capable of creating a fake like Boris. They would create a fake like Zach Goldsmith, basically, and Theresa May. They can create those kinds of fakes. What you see, Boris's personality, in a sense, if it's fake, it's like counterproductive, because it doesn't really. I don't think it really does function as from the Illuminati psychology. They wouldn't see that as a very, very good cover. Okay, Diego Rivera's repeating himself now. Oh, thank you. Welcome, Peaceful Warrior. Well said on independence. That's right. Peaceful Warrior. Are you Scottish, Peaceful Warrior? Because I really wish you all the best. I do, with Sturgeon in charge. You know, that big fish who's probably going to be at the next Bilderberg group meeting. And she might do one of her. I mean, she looks so much like wee Jimmy Cranky. All she needs is a bloody school uniform, doesn't she? And she is going to betray you, people of Scotland. She's going to betray her country by making your country a real. I mean, it's so Orwellian. I mean, she's going to say she's going to make your country sucked into an empire and lose all its independence under the guise of becoming independent. George Orwell himself couldn't make that up. You really couldn't. James Tilly Matthews says it would be wonderful if Scotland got independence. All those sectarian weapons orders would be a good thing right now. Well, you know, if it was real independence, like if the Scots said, right, yeah, we want out the UK, fair enough, it's their country. They can leave the UK. Same with Wales, same with Northern Ireland, all those countries. The UK should only exist as a nation by the voluntary agreement of the citizens of the nation's constituent countries. If any of those decide at any point they want to leave, they should be allowed to leave. But I hate the thought that the Scots are going to say, okay, yeah, we want to leave, but we're going to leave by becoming independent member states of the EU, with all that oxymoronic irony attached to that. If they said we want to be independent of the UK and the EU, I'd be cheering them on. Neil Desprandom, hello, how are you? Stephen said, I've been sat on the toilet listening to Ben. Oh, right, talking about Judy Wood on 10 o'clock news. I nearly shit myself. It could happen, Stephen, you know. I mean, it's... Stephen, I mean, I agree with Andrew when he says that. When he says that if I saw that, I would know the New World Order was in big trouble. Yes. But I think he believes that could somehow... I think he said... Because I asked him about this. I said, well, would that happen spontaneously, or would it be the end result of a process? And I can't remember what he said, actually. But you see, I believe it will be the end result of a process. It would have to be. I'm interested in that process. I don't think Andrew is. I think he's interested in the end result. I'm personally very interested in the progress. I think this is one of the things I disagree with Andrew on, is the nature of that process. Cosmic Claire says, there are many pressures on Boris that we won't be aware of, just like Trump, but they also know things behind the scenes that we're unaware of. That's a good comment, Claire. Yes. Boris is the British Trump, or Britain Trump, as Trump himself says. He's now going to face the same challenges. He's going to want to drain the swamp, but he's got a lonely and difficult journey ahead of him. I want him to know he's not alone. There are people who understand the true nature of what he has to deal with, and we're not going to abandon him. He's not alone. He has friends and supporters out there, and we are among them. Oh, yeah. James Tilly Matthews says, England prevails. Yeah, that's from V for Vendetta. Peaceful Warrior. Remember, most of your best troops are Scottish and proud to serve. That's right. In the armed forces, and if it comes to a full globalist takeover, I think the armed forces, from what I know about them, I mean, I was in the Royal Navy, not for long, but I was for a short time, although I wasn't sort of awake back then. But I know the kind of people who were involved in the armed forces. I know some of them now. And they, I think, are they're very patriotic people. And I think if it came down to it, they understood that the country was under a globalist occupation, and there was forces fighting back against that. I think I know which side they would take. And if some of them, if the Scots can be among them, that's great, independent or not. If they will, if they want to fight on our side, that's absolutely fantastic. James Tilly Matthews, a Scottish king. Surely that's an oxymoron. No, there have been Of course, there's been loads of Scottish kings. I mean, this before the Act of Union, you know. Omega says, swatted for agreeing with his inevitable fate. All right, Omega. Yeah, look, I understand that sometimes force is necessary in a wartime situation, but we still have the law of the land, and there's some things you can't say. I can't allow you to say. Doesn't mean I disagree with you specifically. It's just I can't allow you to say some certain things. Neil Desbrandon, most SAS, the best special forces in the world, bar none, are English. All right. Well, I don't know about that specifically, but good. That's great. I mean, whatever nation they are on, if they'll fight on our side, that's great. James T. Matthews, the Stone of Scone is far more appetizing. James, that's interesting about the Stone of Scone, because it was stolen, don't you? You know the story about the Stone of Scone. The Stone of Scone is in Westminster Abbey. It sits underneath the throne where the kings and queens are crowned. Most recently, Queen Elizabeth II in 1953 was crowned on that chair in Westminster Abbey. You go and see it if you want. It's in Westminster Abbey on top of like a little, appropriately kind of pyramid-shaped structure, very Illuminati. The Stone of Scone comes from Scotland. It used to sit in one of the Scottish castles and was used to crown the kings of Scotland. It was moved to Westminster Abbey after the either after the Act of Union or some other piece of imperialist infamy on the part of the English, which did happen in the olden times, in the Middle Ages, etc. And just before, I think it was the year before the coronation, or maybe 2 years before the coronation, it was stolen. It was stolen by some Scottish nationalists, and it took the police like a long time to track it down. They eventually found it, and they put it back in Westminster Abbey, but they're not in time for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. Now, she was crowned. They put another stone in there. Let me just find the details. It's really funny because here we go. This is a great story. It's Scone. It's actually pronounced like scone, like they drink. The Stone of Scone, the Stone of Destiny. The Stone of Scone, as it's called in Scots. The coronation stone, an oblong block of red sandstone. It was last used in 1953 for the coronation of Elizabeth II. But no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was not in Westminster Abbey. Now, some constitutional experts, people like Albert Burgess, have been saying that because the Queen was not crowned while sitting on the Stone of Scone, legally she cannot be the monarch. And there's many reasons, actually. The Queen Elizabeth II is a usurper, and there's many reasons behind that. And there's a long, detailed story behind it. There's several books about this. But she's not the Queen. She's not the Queen of England. Her entire family are usurpers. They are they're the Habsburg dynasty. They're an Illuminati bloodline, and they are foreign occupiers. So I don't bow to the Queen because she's not our Queen. But this is one reason. One reason is that they didn't actually get the Stone of Scone back into Westminster Abbey till after the coronation. All right, where are we now? James Tilly Matthews. I love all this Trump speak in the absence of Roy Cohn speak. Make America great again. I'm here to tell you I will drain the swamp and I will lock her up. David Schultz says, here in the States, Congress extends the Patriot Act. Oh, dear. That's the Patriot Act is a horrible name. It's like, it's so Orwellian, isn't it? They give these names. It's like the Ministry of Truth and the Ministry of Love, the Ministry of Plenty from 1984. I'm sorry about that. That's awful. Peaceful Warrior and Neil Desbrandon are having an argument about something. James says, as a professional Nordic channeler and gin stroker, I can say with confidence that Simone Parts will see us through. If Simone Parts is who you think I'm talking about, I hope so. Now, Diego Rivera says the precious exit polls indicated the election was fixed. Why are the votes marked with pencil? Well, do you remember? Have you seen my polling day video, Diego Rivera? You'll see quite clearly that you can see very, very clearly that I used a pen. I used a pen for that reason. Now, the reason I used a pen, now, of course, as I said at the time in that video, it's kind of a bit of a joke. You remember in the 2016 election, hashtag use pens. And there was this comedy sketch, someone was taking the mickey out of it, with James Bond basically sitting on a sun lounger in a white tuxedo, vodka martini at his side, bikini babes all around him. He's got this big pile of polling slips. He's got a rubber eraser in one hand and a pencil in the other. And he's like rubbing out the X in the Leave European Union box, and he's replacing one that's in the Remain in the European Union box. Of course, that's not how electoral fraud actually works. It's totally impractical. They can't do that. However, the reason I used a pen and the reason I talk about using pens, I think it's good for making people aware of the possibility of electoral fraud. Electoral fraud does happen in this mother of parliaments. In fact, in the Peterborough by-election, someone was actually convicted. Well, someone was running the Peterborough by-election who previously convicted of attempted electoral fraud involving postal votes. Postal votes are the most common way in which electoral fraud is carried out, but there are other ways. We know that in the Scottish independence referendum, a lot of no votes were added to the pile, some extra ones. Indeed, Chris Everard of True Frequency Radio has a video which someone shot in a counting room showing it happening. The same thing happened in Ireland with the Lisbon Treaty. The vote was rigged by the government. Yes, so indeed, electoral fraud can happen. It can happen like that, yes. And so I mean, the reason they use a pencil, I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's because they're more reliable than pens. I'm not sure, but it's always been with pencil. But you see, obviously, it's not practical simply to adjust every voting slip. But I think in marginal seats, you can bet that there was some vote rigging last night in marginal seats. Obviously, it was not enough. I mean, they can't rig the entire election. They can't simply say we're going to just have a fake election, because you'd have to brief in everyone. All the electoral officials would have to be briefed in. All the counters, all the people at the polling stations, everyone would have to know about it. And that wouldn't work. It'd be a top-heavy conspiracy. Any electoral fraud in terms of poll rigging, like actual poll weighting with extra votes, can be done, but it has to be done on a much lower profile way. And it can't be the entire election. All they can do is add votes to certain locations in the hope that it tips the balance, which they will have done. They definitely will have done it. They did it in Ireland with the Lisbon Treaty, and it worked. But if that's what happened, which I believe it must have done, I think we can anticipate it on theoretical grounds. There was some vote rigging last night. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Peaceful Warrior says, I'm Scottish. Jimmy Cranky. Jim with the Crankies. They were funny. I love that. There's this. They're actually a husband and wife team, and the wife actually plays this little schoolboy called Wee Jimmy Cranky. And they were a comedy duo. Her husband was the stooge guy, and they're very funny. They used to do musicals and talent shows and variety shows on stage, and they were on Crackerjack TV show when I was a kid. You'll move to England if Scotland gets its independence? Peaceful Warrior, I don't blame you. I mean, if you want to get out, I don't blame you for getting out, because Scotland is pseudo independence Scotland's going to be offered is awful. It's going to be terrible for Scotland, because they're going to have the euro. They're going to have to join the eurozone. Then there's not going to be any of this pussyfooting around that the EU did with Britain since 1992, since the constitutional Lisbon Treaty. There's been none of that. There'll be none of that. They'll go full Nazi with Scotland. They really will. I mean, you want to see a hard border wall? They'll be rebuilding. There'll be not Hadrian's Wall, because that's south of the modern border, but they'll be building a bloody wall across the Scottish border. Neil Desprandam, not too sorry. All right, this is just an argument. This is Neil Desprandam and Peaceful Warrior. The High Council, what? The High Council has made moves that only the chosen can interpret. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, David Schultz says Trump's Space Force officially in the 738 billion defense bill. That's interesting. I mean, the whole Space Force thing is fascinating. I've done a couple of videos about that, quite a few actually. Yeah. Vrilonora, hello Vrilon, how are you? Brexit full steam ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Stephen says it's never going to happen. Stephen, how do you know? Are you sure? What would you? I'm asking you now. I've asked Diego Rivera this. I'm going to ask you this question. What would have to happen for you to look up and think the New World Order is in trouble? The New World Order is on shaky grounds. What criteria would have to be fulfilled for you to accept that? Here we go. Lisa. Oh, thanks, Lisa. Lisa says, Boris, here's hoping he deserves you. Oh, thank you. Stephen says, who's your favourite, Boris or Ike? Oh, both. I love them both. Oh, what's this? Proselytizing Orthodox Pentecostal trans rabbit who still wins the prize for the best named viewer of mine. The country isn't under a globalist occupation, Ben, you big twat. Yes, it is, proselytizing Orthodox Pentecostal trans rabbit. Yes, it is. And I've explained. Someone said something about vaccines. Where was that? I've got to go up again. I'm going to have to start skipping. Sorry, I'm going to have to start skipping some. Where are we now? Vrilonor says plenty of vaccines in the armed forces these days. Did they? Do you remember that Gulf War the Gulf War syndrome? Yeah. No one was sure what. Some people said it was caused by some of the vaccines the troops were given. Some people said it was a side effect of depleted uranium, but they kept coming down with all kinds of diseases. There's like about a dozen people died who served in the Middle East. Are we now? Vrilon, the stone was not the stone, it was fake. Yes, Vrilon. The Queen was crowned on a fake stone. The stone of Scone had been stolen. It was recovered after the coronation. Peaceful, pronouncing the stain of Scone. Yeah, I got that from Wikipedia. It says it's got all its names here. It's got a Gaelic name, Anne Leah Fail, if I pronounce that right, and Stain of Scone in Scots, which is it's a lovely language. Where are you? Diego, what if the Queen eats scones? I don't know how you pronounce that. Villanora, the Queen is not upholding the Constitution. Of course she's not. Of course she's not. The Queen will never uphold the Constitution because the Queen's trying to break it down. The Queen is an Illuminati agent. She's a reptilian shape-shifting. Oh, God, I've gone there now. She is not human, and she is on this planet to take over the world. Trump is a moron, says Rabbit. No, he's not. Villanora, Ministry of Carbon. Yeah, there will be. There was already a Secretary of Climate Change. Villanora thinks James Casbolt should be in government. Do you remember? No one's heard from him for a while. I was talking about this on the Basis Project. He supposedly is now out of jail, but somebody says he's still in there. I don't know what's happening. Hey, James, you're going to get a cuppa. Good for you, mate. Where are we? Trump signed an executive order, says David Schultz. New anti-Semitic order effectively criminalized dissent. Oh, is this... I haven't heard about that, but I know, David, that I know very well that the anti-Semitism, this idea of the hatred of Jews, is used as a way of... It's like, as David Icke said, it's just a sticker they can slap on you and they just shut you up. And you don't have to say, you can't prove yourself innocent of it. I mean, 95% of the people accused of anti-Semitism are innocent, completely innocent. And they're just called that just as an excuse to shut them up. Rabbit says, it's well known that conspiracy theories are for losers. Really? Really, Rabbit? Is that so? So are you saying that are you saying, therefore, that the Watergate scandal never happened? Are you? Are you saying that there was the Hillsborough disaster was not caused, no one lied about the Hillsborough disaster? Is it a loser to say these things? Because history has proven them true. These things were originally conspiracy theories, and then they were proven true. I suggest you go to Google and just put in conspiracy theories proven true. There are hundreds of them. So you cannot say conspiracy theories are for losers. That's just a simplification, and it's a very, very stupid slur. Lisa says, I had to smile at the BBC commentator earlier today. Boris could be ruling now for 5 years. Ruling? They're using the word ruling. Okay. Vrillon says, the election in Peterborough this time, when they got the result through a Labour Party supporter, started trying to attack the new MP. Talk about commie violent vote rigging scumbags. Yeah. Oh, they're having an absolute meltdown, Vrillon. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's that, as I said, they're doing exactly what they did in 2016. They're doubling down on their ignorance. Stephen said, I'll take 1 million Ikes over 1 Boris. I love David Icke, Stephen. Don't get me wrong. I think he's great. I think Boris is great too. But I mean, I wouldn't want to, trying to pick from people. I'm not sure I want that, David Schultz says, California is bringing back debtors' prisons for the homeless. It's only a matter of time, David, with the huge debts, with the massive fiat currency, the quadrillions in derivative shares and other kinds of credit that's going around. But they're going to do this. They're going to use this as an excuse to lock people up. Neil says, Ben, do you feel more happy and at peace now the election is done? Yes. Yes, very much so. I really do. Rabbit is, I'm going to delete this comment here. He said something very rude about David Icke, which is completely unproductive and pointless. And I don't know why you do it. It's just really, really stupid of you, Rabbit. You're being an idiot. Where are we now? James says, I'll take a billion parts over half an Anne Soubry. Illinois, EU Fourth Reich is trying to split up the UK. Yep, they're going to try and bite off a chunk of it and swallow it. Oh, yeah. And Wales, you see, Wales is just as bad. Plaid Cymru is just as bad, if not worse. This cow they got running at Leanne Wood. Welsh nationalists. It's like Glyndŵr were turning his grave. And again, I've got members of my family who are Welsh nationalists. I used to be a Welsh nationalist. I went through a Welsh nationalist phase, actually. Lisa says, here's a question. How come Newcastle can count votes in less than an hour and other places take 6 odd hours? Am I missing something here? I don't know exactly why, how that happens, Lisa, because the polls are supposed to shut at 10. Why does it take longer? Because the constituencies are all designed to have a roughly equal population. So why don't they all start just declaring around the same time? Maybe they got a bigger counting team. I don't know, Lisa, but that's a good question. That's a good question. The answer is I don't know. Brexit ahoy, says Eleonora. Yes. Stephen, yeah, talking about Dr. Judy Wood on the news. Yes. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that would be a good sign, wouldn't it? I think that would be positive if we saw Dr. Judy Wood on the news. Green Sky 17. I am Scottish and will move my savings to an English bank if the SNP gets its way. Very wise, Green Sky. Very wise, because they're going to suck you. You will lose those savings. They'll be sucked into the European Central Bank and they'll be levied to pay off the debts, to pay off the European Union debts. Scotland will be plundered for its oil, for all its mineral wealth, and everything, all the other prosperities of the nation. It'll be parasited, it'll be raped, it'll be crucified by the European Union if the bloody SNP get their way and give Scotland their independence. I don't blame you at all. Like Peaceful Warrior, I really feel sorry for I really feel sorry for the Scots right now. Stephen, where are we now? Red Dawn in Scotland, says Vrilla Aura. Yeah, I mean the Red Dawn. That was a good film actually, where there's this town and these Russians start parachuting in. Proselytizing Rabbit says, watching Ben is like being repeatedly hit over the head with a stupid stick. Well, Rabbit, no one's forcing you. You know, go and watch another video if you like. No one's forcing you. You're like those two old guys in the private box at the Muppet Show. You know, why do we always come here? I guess we'll never go. It's really kind of torture to have to watch the show. You know, to be honest, Rabbit, I know why you watch me. It's the same reason I watch Kevin Logan. You can't stand me, but you can't look away, can you? I'm exactly the same with Kevin Logan. I can't stand. He's an idiot, and he's a bloody. He's a oh god, he's a male feminist and socialist and really, really annoying. But I watch all his videos. I can't stop watching his videos. Peaceful Warrior says Gulf War syndrome was caused by troops injecting themselves with medipens when there was no chemical weapons used. Yeah, it's there needs to be a proper look into that, exactly what was in these vaccines. There really is, about what was actually put into these vaccines. Peaceful Warrior, have you ever seen In Lies We Trust? It's a documentary by Dr. Len Horowitz, which talks about all kinds of things related to this. Indeed, I've done a video myself called Real Zombies 2015. There's several different versions of this on my channel. The best one is Real Zombies 2015, where I talk about this, about how biological weapons, sophisticated biological warfare involving things such as cancer viruses, and other kinds of agents, pathologies, was developed in secrecy and openly, and it was done, and the whole thing was actually cancelled in 1972 in the United States, but it carried on in secret at a place called Fort Detrick. And they said that the perfect delivery system for a biological weapon is a covert vaccination campaign. Do watch that. Do watch it. In Lies We Trust, the Hollywood, CIA, and bioterrorism. There we go. Stupido Feckoff, that's a good name, says Trump is a stable genius. Yes. Rabbit says Ben is LARPing. He's a LARPer, aren't you, Ben? No, I'm not. It's live action role playing. No, this is the real thing, mate. Diego Rivera, Trump looks like one of those orange trolls. I must admit, he does a bit. He's got the hair as well, hasn't he? Have you noticed the connection between bad hair and political power? There's Trump, there's Boris, there's Kim Jong-un. They've all got shitty hairstyles, haven't they? What's this? Rabbit says, yes, but David Icke is anti-Semitic. Most conspiracy freaks are. Well, is he? So, in what way is David Icke anti-Semitic? Is it the bit where he says the New World Order is not the work of Jews and Jews are completely innocent? Is it when he says that? Give me some evidence, right? Give us some evidence. Not just this bloody shit from, what's his name, in Manchester, who's been slagging off David. David Schultz says, an England-Russian billionaire killed by vehicle by walking his dog, or Brefsty, the latest of prominent Russians to die in the UK. That's odd, isn't it? I mean, just after that guy Skripal, which is very, I mean, there's a new, Rich Planet's got a new video up about that. I haven't seen it yet. Well, David, I don't know. That's I don't know. I haven't heard about that. No. Vernon Roy says Operation Gladio is true. Correct. That's state-sponsored terrorism. Claire says Operation Northwoods. Not a lot of people know it, but it happened and JFK stopped it. Might have contributed to the desire to take him down. Yes. I think there's many reasons why Kennedy was assassinated. This is one of them. But it was basically a plan for a false flag terrorist attack, which was blamed on Cuba, which would have been blamed on Cuba. You're right, Claire. Yeah. Where are we now? I'm gonna have to start skipping some comments. I don't want to break the. I don't want to break the 3-hour barrier tonight. Peaceful Warrior says the term conspiracy theory was coined by the CIA. Yes. That's right. It was unheard of before the Warren Commission report, which, as you say here, shut up anyone offering a different opinion against the JFK assassination. Yes, quite true. Stephen says, Stephen, there are no trolls on here, mate. These aren't trolls. They're just idiots. Don't worry, I'll deal with them. Just block them if you find them too difficult. I'll deal with them. Rabbit says the things you listed were not conspiracy theories, Ben. They had evidence to back them up. Conspiracy theories don't. There's a difference, Ben. No, there's only one. No, wrong. There's only one difference, Rabbit, and that is hindsight. They both the things had evidence to back them up because that evidence was found. But before it's proved, they were conspiracy theories. There was no difference. There's only one difference, and that is hindsight. Diego Rivera, what will happen to the corgis when the Queen dies? I expect they'll end up with being given to a children's home or something. So where are we now? Hang on. Right. I'm just going to go down a little bit. Rabbit, the term conspiracy theory was created. Can you find a reference to the term conspiracy theory before 1964? Adrian, the Rabbit is here because he's amusing and he's an idiot and he is a shit stirrer, but he's not. He's somebody I tolerate because he's quite amusing. But I suggest you block him if you don't like him. I mean, I feel free to block anyone you don't want to interact with in this chat box. I'm not gonna. He's not done anything I can really ban him for, because besides which, I quite enjoy taking him down. Claire says different counts take longer because they have to bring in boxes from wider areas and rural constituencies. Oh right, I see. Okay, thanks, Claire. Tina says all the corgis have died. She is now dog sitting Megan's dog. Illinois says my best mate voted Plaid Cymru. There was a time when I would have voted Plaid Cymru if I still lived in Wales. Tina Silver says, has fracking stopped? There's been a moratorium on fracking, which is something, isn't it? Yeah. James says, has anyone consulted Win Keach's trousers? Well, those tight leather ones he wears. I wish I was gay so I could fancy him. Wouldn't it be great? I'm going to have to skip a few comments. Sorry, because I'm getting a bit tired now. Actually, we've gone more than 2 hours. Lisa Sellers says, so Rabbit, well, who's stupid by watching? It makes you more stupid. Yeah. Well done, Lisa. David Schultz, 2 pigs engineered to have monkey cells born. Yeah. Oh, God. This reminds me of the 1933 film, The Island of Lost Souls. Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's I saw that. That's disgusting. These hybrid creatures. That's right. The Island of Dr. Moreau. Have you seen that? That was scary. Tina, I've got to watch The Rich Planet, the latest Rich Planet. I really do, because where are we now? Yeah, that was David. That was horrible, wasn't it? Yeah. I'm just going to skip a few. I'm going to have to skip a few. Oh, here we go. Oh, Peaceful Warrior says, you got it, great. It's fascinating, disturbing. It's a long documentary, but it's got a lot in there. It really has, Peaceful Warrior, yeah. I'm just going to have to just skip a few comments. I'm sorry. I'm getting tired. I'm still in happy shock, like I said. Adrian says, "Stop giving the rabbit attention." Adrian, like I have had attacks from people who make rabbit look positively amiable, the anti-Larry Warren trolls and things like that. So I do have a very thick skin. I do, and this is why I deal with these sorts of things. Now I understand. I mean, a lot of people often said, why didn't you block them? Why didn't you just block them? In my view, I mean, they haven't really done anything which I would block someone for. There are people I do block. There are people I don't permit to use this chat box because of their conduct. But honestly, Rabbit is pretty harmless from my point of view. If you don't like him, block him. Omega says there's a riot going on in London. Oh, I see. Yeah, lefty twats. Police are beating them up. Good watch. Fox News has just reported on it too. Oh, let's have a look. Yeah, this was bound to happen, wasn't it? They're doing their usual. It's all the fault of evil white men. So we're going to go and we're going to go up. We're going to fight on the streets and throw things around because we're annoyed because we can't have our way. Yeah, protesters take part in an anti-government rally. Here we go. Several hundred posters have taken part in a rally in Glasgow and London. Oh, there's two. We did not vote Tory. Refugees welcome. Bojo out. Oh, climate change this. Brexit that. Oh yeah, stop Brexit. They're still saying stop Brexit. Oh god, there's a placard here with stop Brexit. These bastards, absolute bastards. Honestly, Omega. I mean, the police, as far as I'm concerned, like if they're gonna like use violence to stop a democratic decision, they're that's an act of terrorism, and they should. I know the police should be acting against them for what they're doing, for using violence for a political end, which goes against the democratic decision of this country. Honestly, man, if Labour had won last night, I wouldn't be in London throwing bricks around. I wouldn't. Xavier Smith says, "Hi, Xavier. Welcome. A best example of a conspiracy theory. No way Libya had anything to do with that at all." Yeah, the whole Lockerbie thing is very dodgy. David Shayler did a really good documentary on that. I think it is on YouTube still. Neil says, "What does your father think of the election result? Have you spoken to him?" I'll just see if there's an email from him. I haven't spoken to him since the election result. I know exactly what he's going to be thinking. Just have a look. No, I have no emails from him. He's going to be absolutely gutted. I've not spoken to him. When I do, I won't gloat or anything. I won't rub it in. But I know that he's going to be really downhearted, and he's going to know that he'll know exactly what I'm feeling as well. I don't think he's avoiding me for that reason, but that's how it goes. I mean, if it'd been the other way around, it'd be the other way around. Tina's got to go. Night, Tina. Thanks for posting. I'm gonna have to stop soon. There we go. Oh. Corgi's got barbecued. Oh, that wouldn't surprise me, really wouldn't. I'm gonna have to just skip a few comments now. I don't have energy to go for 3 hours tonight. James says, "I love Larry Warren. Left at Eastgate was pure truth." It was Left at Eastgate. It's out of print now, but yeah, it's a good one. Thanks, Adrian. I'm glad you understand, Adrian, about my position. There's so many good people here as well. There's so many good people here. Rabbit says, "I already told you, I like Ben. He's a good guy, just a bit nuts." Oh, Rabbit, that's such a compliment compared to what I often get from people. Video says, "I want to see what Boris will do now. Getting out is his first step." Yes. Videos. In fact, Monday morning he's going to table a second reading of the bill, the Withdrawal Act. Hugo, night, Hugo. Sleep well. I don't have too much puffs before you go to bed, or you'll have weird dreams. But thanks for watching. Diego Rivera, the Geordie Grey fixed the boat in revenge for being hit with a shovel. Oh yeah, that's the one that's one of the early Rich Planet shows. That's very good. That yeah. 69 Phuket says, question time is coming to Oxford. Are you going, Ben? Oh my God, do you think they'd have me in the audience? You can't just turn up. It's not like a theatre. You have to apply to be in the audience. Do you think they'd have me? I might. Oh, I might try it. I might just try it just to see what they say. Just imagine that. Here we go. I just have to go scroll down a bit. I'm sorry I can't answer all these questions, but thanks for your Rabbit says, David Shayler, another nut who proclaimed himself to be the son of God. The story of David Shayler it's unfortunate, I know. I mean, but I know David Shayler. I like the guy. He still has a lot of interesting things to say. Yeah, I think it's a long story there. It's a long story. But please, some of his stuff is really excellent. Some of his stuff, and he did a really great thing standing up to the MI6. Him and Annie Michon did a really good thing there. They really did. Lisa Phillips. Lisa says, if Labour had won last night, you'd have 2 bottles of Merlot. I certainly would, and I'd have downed them by now. I'd have been drowning my sorrows. Funny if whether it's when I'm in happy shock, I also have the urge to have a drink. It is happy shock I'm suffering from right now. If suffering is not the right word, but you know what I mean. Vernon says, if once England leaves the EU, you'll only be able to reach the mainland via New York. That's right, of course. Once Britain is out of the EU, that's going to be the end of our relationship with Europe. They're going to get a giant mechanical digger. They're going to uproot the entire island, and they're going to move us to the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So we'll be just north of the Azores, you'll find Britain then. And there'll be a massive naval blockade all over the coast of Europe. If any British ship goes near it, they get torpedoed. Yes, that's what the Ramonas are saying, and Ramonas don't lie, do they? Peace Warrior says, the sun never set on the British Empire. No other empire like it. Yeah, I mean, the thing about the British Empire is that it's like the bête noire of the left, isn't it? And of course, like all empires, it's done some good things and some bad things, but it's certainly not the evil monstrosity of moustache-twirling evil white male heterosexuals that the likes of Jeremy Corbyn and his cronies want us to believe it is. The demonization of the British Empire is actually part of the cultural Marxist agenda for the demolition of our minds, the breakdown of our spirit, because it encourages white people to hate themselves, men to hate themselves, heterosexuals to hate themselves. It encourages black people, non-white people, women to hate the other. So you're either hating yourself or you're hating other people, and I don't know which is worse, quite frankly. I've done entire videos on that, Peaceful Warrior. It's so. I mean, I don't feel any imperial guilt at all, and I don't think anyone should. And I think if you're white, you should feel no imperial guilt, and if you're non-white, you should feel no imperial resentment. This reparation stuff is rubbish. It's all nonsense, and it's designed, as I said, to break us down in true cultural Marxist style, so we can be rebuilt in a new form, the new world order form. Adrian, Adrian, I'm absolutely disgusted and sadly not surprised at the reaction from the losers in this particular election. They're behaving exactly as they did after they lost the referendum. And I don't know how my dad's going to react. I mean, my dad won't go throwing bricks around. He's very peaceful. If anything, he's too peaceful, as I've explained before. But he's going to. I don't think he'll admit that he's wrong. These people can't admit they're wrong. They're just it's like Owen Jones and people like that. They're just saying, "Oh, we've done nothing wrong. We're the good people. Labour. Why don't people understand that their future lies with Labour? It must be these evil white male racists brainwashing them." That's their position. They're doubling down. Look at what Sargon Akkad and what he's been saying about this. He's done a couple of very good videos about this. James says, David Icke, the Greta Bumbag of conspiracy. Poor little Greta. Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg is supposed to be 17, but you see, looking at her, she's 2 or 3 years younger than that. She's autistic. She's this autistic child. She's a little girl who's been set up by her parents and the publicity company they work for as this mascot for Agenda 21 globalism. What they're doing to her is child abuse. She's a brain damaged teenager, and they are using her in the worst way possible. Omega, mate, they're causing chaos as usual. So, well, glad I told you anyway. Thanks for letting me know. By the way, if my earlier comment was a bit much, just want to be informative as possible. Plus, like your channel a lot. Thanks, Omega, and no problem, mate. No problem. I mean, I understand your sentiments and I share them. It's just for legal reasons. There's things you just can't say. You know what I mean? It's how it is. I know there's some horrible people. There's some horrible people in terms of the globalist occupation who I would not show mercy to. I really wouldn't. In any situation, I think they're so, what they've done is unforgivable. Greta Pump, yes, that's what Crafty Nihilist called her as well. Yeah. Oh, Fenlander. Hello, Fenlander. How are you? Cosmic. Oh, this is funny. Yeah, Cosmic Claire. Headline from the Times in the 1890s. Fog in the Channel. Continent isolated. Yes, that was good. Yeah. Peaceful Warrior says, I swore an oath to Britain and I will hold it up no matter what. I just hope the English realise these are people like me over in Scotland, Wales and Ireland. Don't forget about us. Oh, honestly, we won't, Peaceful Warrior. We're all in this together. We're all being attacked by this globalist onslaught together. And I will do everything I can within my power, which may not be much, but it's always something, to try and alert people to the dangers of what's going on now, especially in Scotland, of what's happening, and the new this tactic that they're using. David Schultz says, Ben, always remember what Gore Vidal said. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst. Yeah, Gore Vidal was interesting because he was like this. He was this writer. He was a novelist, an essayist, and he was very controversial in many years ago because he was. Well, he didn't actually say he was gay. I don't think you could say you were gay openly in those days, but he hinted that he was gay. He wrote books about gay men and things like that. He ended up having various fights with various people, and he actually got in an argument with a guy on TV, and this guy was swearing at him and calling him a queer, a Q word, all things like that. And and in the end, the thing is, when he got older, he actually he wrote an essay just about a year before he died. He wrote this essay, one of his later essays, where he talks about 9/11. And he says it was an inside job. Now he doesn't go full Dr. Judy Wood or anything. He doesn't go made it happen on purpose. He's a lie hop, let it happen on purpose. That's his so that's the line he takes. So he wrote an article with this sort of lie hop, putting forward the lie hop conspiracy of 9/11 just before he died. It was really amazing. Video says Commie Corbyn might as well say it. Villon Aura, the Empire strikes back. Well, the Empire will strike back. They're not going to go quietly. We can enjoy the spoils of victory tonight, and indeed I am. But it's not over yet. It's not over yet, and I'll say more. I will say more about that in a future video. But we are now faced with, we now have a battle on our hands, which is going to continue. And I'll probably do another live stream, another video very soon about that. Gomoga says, I'm proud to be white and sexy. So am I. Stephen Truthseeker, we'll have to dig a channel between England and Scotland. No, don't give them ideas. There we go. Sargon of Assad. Rabbit, yeah, he doesn't have to take some grief, old Sargon. Do you remember the fight he had with Jess Phillips? Oh God, it was unbelievable. He's right not to. I think he did something I wouldn't do. I don't think was right to do, but he's right. I understand why he's not apologizing. Omega, Greta looks like an 11-year-old with the mentality of a spoiled child. She's I think she's probably about 14, but she looks younger. She's clearly autistic, and she's been set up as this mascot, and it's awful that they've done that. Fenland says, "What a result! Yeah, fuck them. Both times we stood up to the idiots. Yeah, hope he sticks by what he does. Yeah." Does Diego Rivera, are you dressing up as Father Christmas, Ben? Not this year, Diego. I wouldn't mind. I mean, it would be fun, I think, to be a Santa Claus, but Stephen, I know. I mean, I don't know. I think it's something to do with the. It's something to do with the. I thought it was the webcam, but I think it used to do that with my old webcam as well. The flashing I get on the light on the screen. Oh, Ben, Brexit Father Christmas is it Diego Rivera? There we go. True Stephen says, what about a trans Brexit? I self-identify as a Brexit, yes. I can't believe it's not Brexit. Brexit. Omega, get drunk, happy, laid. Well, I won't get laid, but I'll do the other things. Watch the reruns of the Conservatives winning and leftists crying. Oh, yes, I'll have nice dreams. Thanks very much. And Neil, I don't know, what did Gore say about Kennedy assassination? I know that was he like a conspiratorial that back then, because that was a long time ago. Where's your Boris poster, says Diego Rivera? It's on my T-shirt. There it is, Diego. Oh, thanks for the offer to get me one for Christmas. But, I've got this one. Boris. Peaceful Warrior says, the big question, do I have a few cans before the stream ends? Well, I'm going to end it a bit sooner, I think. Joseph Grundle says, hello, mate. Can Polish and Romanian people still come to the UK? Yeah, I think, Joseph, there's been travel between the continent and the British Isles since prehistoric times. There's been international trade for like 20,000 years. We don't need a regulator, a continental dictatorship regulating the process. The Remain camp have been lying. They've been saying an awful lot of fear stories, like fear propaganda, saying there's going to be a wall built around the country. No one will ever go in or come out again. Not true. My mother was a Dutch woman. She came over to Britain in 1966. That was before the European Communities Act. How did she get into the country? There was no EU to arrange it. Honestly, Joseph, don't worry about it. Really don't. Stephen says, what about a full-blown old-fashioned guy Brexit? Yep, that's what I'm a WTO. Let's just get out. That's simple as that. Where do we go? I'm going to skip a few. Midnight Joker, hello, how are you? There we go. Diego Rivera, did you vote for Right Said Fred? I'm too sexy for my shirt mentality. James says, leave Mr. Nephilim Jones's measurement. All right, here we go. Take it easy, David. Thank you very much for joining me. Thanks for posting. I'm nearly at the end now. I'm going to quit soon. Omega, your shirt is awesome. Thanks, Omega. Yeah, I'm tempted to sort of wear it out to wind people up. I'll certainly wear it at Christmas to trigger my dad. Yeah, the license fee thing is, I don't know much about that, but I don't have time to talk about that now. But Neil says Gore Vidal took the Warren Commission position. Oh, right. So Gore Vidal was not conspiratorial back then. No, it seems to be something he came to at the end of his life. He died in 2010, and he had a big feud with Christopher Hitchens about it. Hitchens wrote an article called Vidal Loco because of this. Then Hitchens himself died a few years after that. Maybe they're still arguing about it in heaven. I don't know. Right, I'm off. All right, see you, Peaceful Warrior. Thank you very much, Peaceful Warrior. Welcome. That's the first time I think you posted, and welcome. Denise Moore. Hello, Denise. You got here just at the end. I'm sorry. I'm just ending at the moment. Lisa, you were born in '66. My mother came over here the same year Lisa was born. Yeah, it's a good year. Yeah. Night, Neil. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. And Omega says Tommy Robinson released a video when conservative. Hilarious. I recorded and uploaded to my channel, so it's up if anyone's interested. Right, I'll check that out, Omega. I'll have to check out your channel, sub to you. But thanks, Omega. James Tilly Matthews says Kennedy, a good guy but an awful president. Gore Vidal. Oh, right, yeah. Night anyway, James. Night, Steve. Night, Vrillon. Night, Omega and Denise and Peaceful Warrior. And everybody else, and night Rabbit, night James. Take it easy, and as James always says, good night all. Keep your thighs to the skies and ear to the ground. I will. Hey, Artography. Night Fenlander. Night DJ B2. Thank you all of you for taking part in this live stream. Honestly, it wouldn't be the same without you guys. What happens now with Brexit? Well, we don't know yet, but it's looking better, and I'll cover it on future programs. Exactly what happens with Brexit. Night, Denise. Night. Stephen says, "I bet for you £5 you won't get Dr. Judy Wood on Question Time any time soon." Stephen, put your bookie on Danger Money. Night, Alien Biker. Hello, thank you, Alien Biker, and thank you, Claire and Diego Rivera. Good night. Thank you very much, all of you. It's been a good live stream. 2.5 hours. So it's quite long, and I'll see you again in the next video, which will be very soon. I've already got one planned, so as they say, watch this space.